What are some useful things to get? Well, first of all, I've explained this in a couple of the other videos, and it's the NutriCheck app. I'm not affiliated to them, don't get any commission, nothing. I just found it was so super useful. One of the things I loved about it was that sometimes it wasn't always easy to see on packaging in particular what calories I should have or what calories were in them. And you can literally barcode scan and it would come up. You can also put your own meals on there, which I really loved, and it then calculates your calories and that for you. It's got a great water level on there as well. So if you're not drinking enough water, it will soon tell you. And you can put in your fitness and all sorts. Seriously, it's so good. It's about, I think it was about £2 or £3 a month. I only did the app, I didn't do the website as well. But there's a great support group on there. There's lots of people who are in the same boat as you, and also explaining their journey and some things and tips and that's helped them. So it's fabulous for that. It's a nice little community, and people generally as a rule are kind and nice, which makes a change, doesn't it? So I love it, and I like the fact that when you first set it up, you can put your own details in there, your height, your weight, your goal, and it will tell you then what really, if you've got weight loss to lose, how much, blah, blah, blah. So it's sort of tailored to you, and you can then plot your progress. So I loved it for a multitude of reasons. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So that is one of the items that I suggest you get. The other thing is probably to have a look at your BMI. BMI is not always great for some people, and I'll explain that in a moment. But BMI is really about where I should be for my height and age. And the best one I found was the NHS one. So the NHS one, basically you put your details in there, and then it calculates what your BMI should be. So it can put you in whether it thinks you're underweight, whether you're healthy, whether you're overweight, or whether you're obese. So you've got a good track there. The only time I find that that can be a bit skew if is when you are into fitness and you really are gaining that wonderful muscle, because obviously it weighs a bit more, so it can make out that you're a bit heavier, but actually muscle weight is a great thing to have and has multitudes of benefits. So I think it's great if at the very beginning, when you are maybe not as fit as you should be, you've not had any sort of fitness regime, and you've really had no sort of form of healthy lifestyle, to get a good gauge as to where you should be. But there may come a point in time where you get fitter and fitter and fitter, and you're building that muscle, and maybe your weight changes a bit, for the better, and then BMI might just go off track a wee bit, not too much, but just a wee bit. So that was another thing that you should get. Some good kitchen scales, because if you've seen my portion control section, then you will know that scales are important. And we've all got this thing where we think, like say 50 grams is something, but actually it turns out to be 100 grams. So that is really super important, that you get a good pair of kitchen scales so that you know what your portion size sort of should be. I always tend to go a little bit heavier on my veg and fruit anyway, simply because I like that. I like to try and get all those nutrients in, especially with veg, those greens in particular. So they go into my diet a bit more, so I always tend to over portion them. But that's good, because it's filling up on the good stuff, and really some of it has no calories much at all. So that's a good thing. So you need to get a pair of scales as well. The other thing I would recommend is a tape measure. Yes, a tape measure, good old tape measure. And let me tell you why. Because sometimes the scales might not be telling you how you really are performing. I know that's a really weird thing to say. I used to weigh myself about every fortnight, and now it's sort of once a month. I think it's unhealthy if you are going on your scales every day. So and you don't really tend to see the benefits of doing that. So I would say keep it to, even if you have to do it once a week, do it on the same day, first thing in the morning before you've eaten, drunk, and and before you've got dressed. And then that will give you a good idea as to what your weight is. But then the tape measure became my best friend, because you know, you can soon start losing weight in other areas, and what you're doing, especially as you're doing fitness, is you're toning up. So whereas fat is quite congealed and blobby, the muscle may weigh more, but it's really nice and tight. So you can see where you're making changes. Plus there's also muscle gains. So you might want to work maybe on your glutes on the behind, you know, so that may, you want to maybe build that up a little bit more, or you want to have slimmer thighs. And so look, you basically really do need to have your tape measure. There were so many weeks where the scale didn't move, but the tape measure did. I mean, for example, I started off right at the very outset. I think I was a 38 double D, and yeah, that was quite some for my frame, quite a lot to be hunking around. But now down to a 34B. But that was one of the areas that I really noticed. The scale didn't say very much, but funnily enough, I could see the difference and how my clothes was fitting. So that's a really important thing to do, and to photograph as well. So make sure you photograph yourself right every, you know, sort of every couple of 3 weeks. Take some photographs, even keep it in a private album. I'm not asking you to send your photographs in, bless you. If you want to, please do. But you'll see then how you are changing, because that's the problem with a mirror. You can sometimes forget where you've been and where you're going, and you forget because you see yourself every day, and it's only when other people sometimes comment, and of course we're all not seeing anybody with this coronavirus as much as we should, but then when they do happen to bump into you, it's like, whoa, what have you been doing? So photograph, it's so important for your own sort of self-esteem as well, to say, hey, look, I can see it. And it's good to just remind yourself of the journey that you've been on. So there are a couple of things that I suggest that you do also get as well. Is there anything that you should be doing? Yes. Get in them cupboards and the fridge and the freezer and start getting rid of the junk food. You know what they are. You don't need me to reel off the long list of rubbish. Even if you want to give it to charity or whatever, that's very good, but get rid of it. Because when it's a temptation and when it's there, it's soon easy to just have one, and then one turns to five, and then five turns to 10. Or in my case, it was cake. Yeah, love cake. Still do, but it's treat day cake. So that I would strongly suggest you do, and be prepared to do some exercise. Yes, I know that this is about healthy eating as well, but for me, I wouldn't have got the results that I have without probably doing my exercise. I am mindful that not everybody can do exercise. Although, do you know what? I've got people and friends who have got disabilities and they still do some form of exercise. And do you know what? I totally respect you. You are bossing it. That's one of my phrases. You are bossing it. I think you're fantastic. You really do inspire me, because I think I've got no excuse. And, you know, all that you're doing, just to try and keep a level of fitness, proud. I am proud of you. So you keep going. But it's good that you're also engaging in the healthy eating as well. So, you know, you're just doing your bit. You're doing something positive for you and for your body. And that is what it all boils down to at the end of the day. So whatever you can do, but do be prepared, if you've got no excuse, apart from being unfit, to get some trainers on and get doing things. I should be talking a little bit more about sports, and over time going to be talking a lot more about my chosen fitness subjects, which I particularly love for myself. Also a water bottle, you're going to need one of them. So these are all little things, or a jug or something, so that you can keep an eye on how much water you are consuming, and that has a big impact. Water is massive. So join me on my next video.